Hey there, welcome. Welcome to Rise and Receive. Good to see you virtually through cyberspace. Today we're going to talk about what I believe is the most underrated skill that makes manifestation easier and faster. So Rise and Receive is an opportunity in your day to simply stop whatever you're doing and explore how to receive your fulfillment by unlearning struggle. And today, this idea about the most underrated skill that allows you to manifest things with greater ease and speed is something I'm really excited about because it really is underrated, and I'm really excited to illuminate what this one skill is because it's something that could not be easier to do when you look at it correctly. So we're going to get into that, and if you are interested in manifesting your goals, dreams, wishes, wants, and aspirations with greater ease and greater speed, I really think you're going to like what we're going to unpack today. So if you don't know me, my name is Sonia Miller. I'm a speaker, coach, and best-selling author, and I help hardworking, goal-oriented people to see the blind spots that keep them from receiving their long overdue rewards. And I do this by teaching the very distinct and results-producing skill set that I call receiving. Because if there's one thing I've learned in 25 plus years of coaching is that hardworking, goal-oriented people know how to work hard. They know that skill set. However, there's another skill set that is equally as important, and that is the skill set that comes with receiving what you've worked so hard for. And if you don't know how to receive, if you don't have that skill set, what tends to happen is when your goals are not manifesting, what do? We work even harder, and that can actually sabotage you. Hard work is good up to a point, and it's really good for tasks and targets and things that you know you want. It's really good for like projects and outer world concrete things. But when you have dreams where you're not quite sure what you want, or you don't know how to go about it, and you just work hard without tapping into this other skill set, then what tends to happen is those goals don't come in and you end up sabotaging yourself. So one of the things I love to do at Rise and Receive is I love to illuminate blind spots. And I define a blind spot as when your current point of view hides an essential insight. Now, why is an insight or a point of view important? Well, in my world and everything that I live by and teach, your consciousness creates your reality. That means everything that happens in your inner world, thoughts, feelings, emotions, memories, even sensations, feelings, all of that is this inner terrain that when you're really skilled and you know how to tap into it, makes all kinds of things possible. Hardworking, goal-oriented people tend to have skill sets that are much more focused on the outer world, and those are really important. But then you're really only working with half of what's available to you. So your point of view and your consciousness is what can literally blow the roof off your inner glass ceiling or your outer glass ceiling. Now, a receiving blind spot occurs when you operate more as a human doing, i.e. hard work, versus a human being, which is all about feelings and experiences and sensations in your body. It's the inner terrain. All right. So today's blind spot that I'm going to illuminate is what I call the more is better blind spot. So hardworking, goal-oriented people tend to operate as if more is better, which means, okay, well, if I haven't gotten my goal and I haven't gotten my dream, that I must need to work harder or learn more or train more or get more certificates or put in more hours or get more money. It's all about more is going to be the solution. And you know that blind spot is sabotaging you when you're kind of almost like compulsively just working harder, driving, and you really don't know what the alternative is. As a matter of fact, you might be actually afraid to stop all of the hard work. A lot of hardworking, goal-oriented people think that they can't afford to stop working hard. They can't afford to take their foot off the gas because if they do, then what's going to happen? Life's going to come to a halt. Things are going to something horrible will happen. Again, because all of your faith is in the skill set that you've come to know and rely on. The problem is when we over rely on it and we don't approach our productivity, our effectiveness from another perspective. Okay, so that's the more is better blind spot. And you might want to just check in to see if that applies to you. Now, the solution to this that activates ease and speed and the capacity to go beyond your upper limits is a less is more approach. Less is more. Now, less feels scary sometimes for hardworking, goal-oriented people. And one of the skills that requires the absolute least amount of work, and here's the underrated skill set, is the skill set of resting. Believe it or not, resting is a skill. Now, how do I know it's a skill? Because when you know what resting does for you, when you know how resting is powerful, it makes all kinds of things available to you, all kinds of receiving possible for you. Okay. But hardworking, goal-oriented people don't look at rest that way oftentimes. It's actually something that we think we can't afford to do because when we have a hard work bias, or we look at everything through the lens of, hard work, got to make things happen, then we look at resting, which I point that way because it's like when you're standing over in hard work and you look over at from a doing to a being skill set. When you look at being, we don't see the power of being. What we see is judgments. We see passive, lazy, unmotivated, unproductive. Does that sound familiar to you? Well, if you're a hardworking, goal-oriented person, usually it does. So what I want to do is illuminate through this blind spot of less is more, why resting is so powerful. Now, a really important distinction to make is what I call resistant resting, when you're just at the point where it's like, I just can't work anymore. I'm done. I have to stop. You're resting not because you think it's a good thing, but because you've hit the wall. Now, resistant resting doesn't really allow you to tap into the skill of resting. And so I'm going to coin a term today. I don't know if anybody else has talked about it, but I'm officially coining a new term, and it's called power resting. Power resting. Resting done as a skill that you practice from the being or receiving side of who you are. Remember, we have a whole aspect of doing and being skills. Power resting is something that you do with awareness and wisdom and intentionality because you understand what resting produces. So let me talk a little bit about what power resting is and why it's powerful and how it lets you receive more than you could ever receive before, more than you could when you're over relying on the doing model of power. So number one, when you are resting, okay, what makes it powerful is when you look at it as a way to connect with yourself. There's a kind of resistant resting that's a little bit more about disconnecting from yourself. That's when we check out. When we just stop what we're doing, we plop ourselves on the couch and maybe we watch TV and we get on our phones or we go shopping or whatever. You're actually not connecting with yourself. Now, I'm going to say right up front, I'd rather have you check out as a way to rest and decompress because we all want to check out sometimes. It is relaxing. However, there's a place that you can take rest that's beyond just checking out because checking out has an element of avoiding something. There's usually a pain or discomfort that when we're avoiding and we just unplug. That's okay. But you can take rest beyond that, which is connecting with yourself from a place of love and nurturing. So this is what happens when you practice power resting. Number one is when you are resting, it gives your mind permission to take your awareness off of the problem that you're trying to solve. Because when we're going after goals, we're problem solving. That's the doing model, a lot of thinking and a lot of action. When your mind is focused on problem solving, you manifest more problems because your consciousness creates your reality. Where your attention goes, the energy flows. When you give yourself permission to truly rest, You are giving yourself permission to just, for now, for a while, take your attention off of problem solving. Now, why is this powerful? Because the moment you take your attention off of problem solving, it instantly opens the door to new possibilities. That space in which you receive when you're working hard is filled with problem, problem, problem. I'm looking for something I don't have. I don't have the solution. So what you're receiving in that moment is problems. When you take your attention off of the problems, the space opens up and something new can come in. There's the ease and speed factor. Boom. Your consciousness creates your reality, and there's this pressure and this resistance that's released. So that's number one. Permission to take your attention off the problem. That's what true rest is. It's permission-based. Number two, your consciousness, let me check my notes here. Your consciousness when you are resting, and this is something that you want to practice because most hardworking, goal-oriented people can't even conceive of this. When you're resting, you are entering into the consciousness of, I receive, or I'm willing to receive simply because I exist. I call this reasonless receiving or unconditional receiving. Because when you're a hardworking, goal-oriented person, your belief is, I can only receive if I solve this problem, if I work hard, if I do enough stuff. Once I've offered something or provided something as a transaction, then I can receive what I want. Well, that makes things harder. But if you look at, for example, a tree in nature, it doesn't do anything and it receives all day long. It's a creature of receiving. It's a constant invitation. That is tapping into the power of beingness, receiving simply because you exist. A baby in an ideal situation receives simply because it exists. The baby doesn't analyze or work hard or do anything. It's just this little being, and it's receiving love and attention and food and nurturing and diapers and toys and kisses just because it exists. We have the capacity to tap into that. We just have to remember, because many of us have been indoctrinated, conditioned, trained, and traumatized into believing that the only way that we can receive is through an exchange, through a transaction. This is the difference between transactional value, where your value is outside of you and you need to exchange something in order to receive that value, appreciation, approval, attention, money, versus innate value, natural self-worth that you are born into this life factory set with. That just comes from being willing to have that grow within you and expand by nurturing that. And rest is one of the ways you nurture this. So it's the consciousness of, I receive simply because I exist. Easier, faster. You start to open up to that new possibility for manifestation. And that's what happens for people. They just start receiving things. It just shows up. I get these kinds of phone calls and texts all the time that say, Sonia, I was just practicing the being practices, the awareness practice, and this thing showed up. I didn't have to do anything for it. I hear that all the time. So that's number 2, power of resting. And number 3 is when you rest, when you power rest, you are now creating a space for something new to come in. I talked a little bit about that a little earlier. When you are working hard, the space in which you receive is filled with problem solving. When you rest and give yourself permission to take your attention off the problem, there's now a space. And I always say, you need space in order to receive something new. A bowl that is full with no space can receive nothing new. But you empty that bowl, and now you have a space, you can receive something new. That's what happens in consciousness. That's what happens in your life. So that is the less is more approach, which is the solution to our common blind spot of more is better. And power resting is the way. So How do you activate rest? Isn't that funny? Activating rest, which is non-action. Well, activating it is bringing it to life in your consciousness, in your awareness. And all it takes is willingness. So if you feel right now that I can't afford to rest, I can't afford to stop, that's okay. Just notice every time you're thinking that or you're driving to make something happen. Just become aware. That's awareness is the key to everything. Awareness is the first step in receiving. Notice, stop, take a breath. Oh yeah, more is better. I'm falling into that. Stop. And then you can use the mantra from the Receive Rest card from the Receive Oracle card deck. And you can use this mantra as often as you like. I am willing to believe that I can receive infinite possibilities as I rest. Imagine that. That is the opposite of what most of us believe. Most of us believe I cannot receive unless I'm constantly striving for it. What if you could even consider that as you rest, you are a creature of receiving like the tree? You are open, you're receptive, you can receive infinite possibilities as you rest. Just that allows you to rest even more and soothe the concern that you can't afford not to rest. I am willing to believe that I can receive infinite possibilities as I rest. So I hope this was helpful. If it was, please like, please share, try it on. You have nothing to lose but gaining ease and speed in your efforts in the things that you've been striving for. And if you're on YouTube, please click the red subscribe button. It helps me reach the people that I'm here to serve. And if you want to go deeper in unlearning struggle and receiving your fulfillment with much greater ease, I invite you to order your own Receive Oracle cards. They are on Amazon. I know they're hard to see on this camera and the lighting, but anyway, there it is. Just go to receiveCardDeck.com. It'll take you to my Amazon link, and you can buy your own. Been getting 5-star reviews and great reviews. You can check that out for yourself. And I'm very happy to announce that if and when you buy your Receive Oracle cards, you immediately become eligible to join the Receive community. It's new and improved. It's on Facebook. And that is a place for people who sincerely would like to explore how to expand in their capacity to be fortunate receivers. So have a great day. Thanks for being here. And I'll see you at the next Rise and Receive. Bye, everybody.